Hi guys, welcome to the discussion video for our narrated reading of Harrison Bergeron. I just want to start by giving a definition. I said that that piece was a satire. In case anybody was unfamiliar with the word, I'm just going to read a definition. That way there's no conflict or disagreement or so. So according to dictionary.com, the word satire means irony, sarcasm, or caustic wit used to attack or expose folly, vice, or stupidity. Basically, it's exaggeration and sarcasm and kind of like wittiness that they're exaggerating in order to expose something that they think is just stupid, basically. Okay, so this is definitely a satirical piece. That's the entire reason that it was made. I mean, there's not really too much room for like alternative interpretations. I mean, there could be secondary interpretations, but primarily this short story was definitely written to make fun of people wanting equality. So, equality isn't really something that we in America are used to challenging. But what this author did is basically looked at it from the other direction. Instead of saying, let's raise the bar. Let's make people who aren't as smart, let's make them smarter. People who aren't as fit, let's make them fitter. Which is not exactly realistic, honestly, in some circumstances. So this author is giving for consideration, what if in the attempt to make everyone equal, the only way that's found extreme equality is, rather than making people smarter, making people stronger, you lower the bar, you make stronger people weaker, you make smarter people dumber, and so everybody is at a level playing field. I mean, usually when we talk about equality, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. We want equality, but I think the author is trying to say that real equality will never exist, and he gives his examples. And this short story, all of it, in my opinion, this is my opinion here, is all exaggeration. Everything in it, everything that happens, everything that's said is an extreme exaggeration meant to be so extreme that it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, and that is how he's pointing out his opinion on equality. So, I mean, if it had been realistic things like, maybe prettier people had to wear, like, I don't know, makeup that kind of downs down their features or something. But he goes to the extreme and says that beautiful people have to wear ridiculous, hideous masks, and that the new average intelligence is what would today be considered mental retardation. So Hazel is considered of average intelligence, and he goes to define that as only able to think about things in short bursts. Okay? And that is the average. So that is ridiculously, exaggeratedly low. And then the mental handicaps for people who are, quote, above average intelligence are ridiculous. The sirens that go off in his head, it's just such an extreme that it makes you laugh at it, but makes you recognize the point that he's trying to make. So yeah, the car crash in his head, the sounds and everything, they're not just, it's not meant to be a realistic depiction of something that could happen. Because honestly, who would put 21 gun salute, firing in somebody's ear, or a car crash, or a siren going off, or whatever? I mean, That's ridiculous, right? Okay, so another thing is when you do see beauty, it's exaggerated, it's unrealistic, it's completely implausible. When Harrison Bergeron enters and you see his full height and you see his dancing and you see the beautiful ballerina who's blindingly beautiful, blindingly, and when they begin to dance, they defy the laws of gravity. They jump and they kiss the ceiling, and then it literally says that they hang in the air. They're hanging in the air, denying gravity and kiss. Um, so again, there's just this completely exaggerated, unrealistic sense about this thing. And then when the ending happens and the handicapper general comes in, what does she do? She executes them. But not only does she execute them, she pulls out a 12 gauge shotgun and shoots them dead, bodies dead before they hit the floor. That is extreme. Um, and I think that that's what makes it a satire. So I'm really not that well educated about politics. I mean, some of you political science majors, or maybe somebody who just knows a little bit more about politics or like the definitions about it will chime in here for me. But I think I could be wrong. I think it's actually satirizing communism, because communism is a system where everybody must be equal, okay? And so this author is pointing out the possible disadvantages of that. I think another purpose of making everybody equal by lowering the bar is that they're easier to control. So you don't have any smart people to that it even says that the father, I forget his name, but it says he didn't have, or he couldn't think about it too long because of the interruptions, the mental interruptions that he has in his ear. So really, you have a population of people who can't think for more than a few seconds at a time, maybe 20, 30 seconds at a time, and then they forget what they're talking about, is very easy to control. And Hazel and George, I think it is, discuss this, and it seems like the reason they did that was so that nobody would ever have to compete with each other in an attempt to make nobody feel like a loser. Nobody will ever feel inferior. Nobody will ever feel uglier or slower, or they won't feel bad about themselves. Everybody will be exactly the same. And that, when you really think about it, that's not preferable. And it's really difficult. Well, not really difficult. It might be kind of difficult to accept that when you say, we have to have winners and losers. We have to have losers. We have to have people of below average intelligence, because if we didn't have people below average, that would just mean that the average people were below average and the higher than average were the average. So if the bar is the average, right? If you think of like a what do you call that? Pole vaulting bar, right? So the bar is going to be at the average, and unless every single person is right there at that bar of either intelligence, beauty, athleticism, as long as there's one person who's a little bit better or worse, you're going to have a range. You're going to have below average, average, and above average. So I think that's kind of the point that he's trying to make with this one, is that equality, absolute equality, is not preferable, and it's almost impossible. I would venture to say that it's impossible. Because can we really do that? Can we really hook up these devices into every single person's ears and then weigh everybody down, weigh down the strong people to make them weaker, which doesn't make sense anyway, because the more you weigh down a strong person, the more muscle they're going to gain, and they're just going to get stronger. That doesn't even make any sense. Well, I think that's pretty much the extent of what I can say about this piece. It stood out to me because it was such an exaggerated story. It's very interesting. It's very original. Never heard anything like that before. And it's, what's the word? It features a dystopian society as opposed to a utopian society, which, when you think about, oh, everybody was finally equal, it must be utopia. Utopia is a theoretical perfect society. Okay, so a dystopia would be the opposite of that. But having reached complete and utter equality, it was actually just a travesty, and it was a catastrophe. Yeah. But anyway, I think that's the extent of what I can cover with it without having to look up other political ideas to bring up. But I would rather leave that to you people who are a little bit more knowledgeable in those areas, and you can tell me what you think about if it raises any concerns in communism or socialism or anything else. So that's that, and I will see you guys in the comments.